Don't even get a hello. Hello.
These vulnerable bear cubs are getting a second chance. Endangered sun and moon bear orphans rescued from a life behind bars.
It would be amazing if you had some milk and then we could play.
For their first crucial weeks,
Come on.
animal expert Giles Clark is looking after them.
Here's my other arm.
Giles has been providing specialist care for fragile baby animals over 2 decades. Now, Giles is bringing his skills to Southeast Asia. Over the next 12 months, he's helping to construct a pioneering new bear sanctuary.
We need to rescue hundreds of bears from absolutely horrendous conditions, but at the same time, build homes for them here.
This dedicated team are taking on a cruel and criminal wildlife trade.
Everyone needs to be really careful.
If we weren't able to step in, the fate for these bears would have been lingering starvation.
In a world-first look, we witness the growing pains of sun and moon bears, 2 of the most elusive bear species on Earth.
She is by far the most challenging cub I've ever had.
Can Giles give these cubs the start they need
Oh, there we go. We've had some escapees.
and help ensure that bears have a future in the wild?
Well done.
Giles Clark is in Laos. This landlocked nation in Southeast Asia is roughly the size of the UK, and its rainforests are some of the most biodiverse places on the planet. But as the human population increases, much of the local wildlife is now under severe threat.
Here in Laos, there's a war going on, there's a battle going on with wildlife, and I'm here to try and help make a difference. And I've committed the next 12 months to be part of a team that's not only setting up a wildlife sanctuary, but also rescuing bears that would be destined for an absolute horrific life.
Giles is staying with his good friend Matt Hunt, CEO of Free the Bears, an organization dedicated to wildlife conservation.
I've known Giles for 15 years.
Yeah, I'm good. Good to see you. Good,
Absolutely.
good.
Do you need a hand with your bags?
No, I've got it, I think.
good.
Finally made it.
Come this way.
Matt is embarking on an ambitious project to save as many bears as possible and has called on Giles for help.
The main purpose for Giles being over here is to act as a technical advisor on our animal husbandry team. It's just a huge benefit to all of us. So yeah, so you're gonna sleep in here. I've still got to sort this room out.
No, that's fine.
Rescued only days ago, a vulnerable bear cub is living with Matt.
I can't wait to meet Matt's new house guest. Not me, the other one.
This is Mary, a 5-month-old baby sun bear.
Oh my goodness. Oh, look how tiny you are.
Mary is staying with Matt as she needs care around the clock.
When I heard from Matt, I knew that she was going to be small because she is malnourished and underweight for her size and for her age. So, you know, she's even tinier.
Weighing just 4 kilos, Mary is half the size she should be.
Oh, is that good? Okay. She's, although got lots against her, she's certainly got spirit, and the fact that she's got this far, she's definitely a survivor.
Only 48 hours ago, Mary was living in a cage strewn with rubbish. She was close to starvation. A poacher killed her mother in the wild, and Mary was destined for a bear farm, where bears are kept in captivity and used for their meat, fur, and body parts.
I was very relieved to get her back here and just try and start getting her onto a proper diet and onto a proper feeding regime and everything. We've still got a long way to go before she's out of what I'd consider the danger zone. She's a very lucky little girl. That's nice, okay, so she wants a little bit of fuss.
Sun bears are the smallest members of the bear family, and cubs are reliant on their mothers until they are 2 years old. It's up to Giles to ensure 5-month-old Mary receives the right nutrition.
For any baby mammal, milk is essential. Without it, they would die. I'm really conscious about her dehydrating. The sooner I can get her onto a good quality diet that has the right amount of nutrition, then the happier I definitely feel.
You're gonna come say hi, get some food. Your breakfast is being cooked. You know that, yeah? Your breakfast is being done.
I'm putting in a little bit of cold drinking water. And the reason you wouldn't use water that's just boiled is that the heat can damage some of the vitamins and some of the minerals that you find in the formula.
Preparing milk that has a fat content nearly 7 times higher than cow's milk, Giles is hoping to kickstart Mary's growth and neurological development.
Having Giles here brings a wealth of experience that he has, especially an animal as young and fragile as her. It's really nice to be able to know that she's basically in the best hands possible.
Getting Mary into a feeding routine takes a little encouragement.
She does not stay in one spot for more than 2 seconds. She spent her whole life so far in a horrendous cage, so the fact that she's getting out and exploring,
And you can see she's enjoying herself.
Half an hour later, Mary finally settles down to drink.
Given her age, she should be much bulkier. She's a bit malnourished, but she's certainly getting an appetite now. You had enough for a minute?
To build up her strength, Mary needs to drink milk every 2 hours.
Good girl.
If it all goes well, when Mary reaches 6 months of age, she'll continue her rehabilitation at a new rescue facility.
Alrighty, I'm gonna head up to the sanctuary. I'll catch you in a bit, yeah?
No worries, see you in a tick.
Besides looking after bears like Mary, the actual main part of my role here is to advise and help build the new wildlife sanctuary. I think the real urgency for me is that, you know, there's so many animals out there that need our help.
The Luang Prabang Wildlife Sanctuary is an hour's drive away. This remote and much-needed facility is already home to many rescued animals.
Somebody, morning, morning. We've got 24 bears here at the moment, 24 adult bears. Every bear gets fed 4 times a day, which is about 120, 130 kilos of food every single day. So that means a lot of chopping.
With 8 keepers providing care, all of the bears here are recovering from previous trauma at the hands of humans.
This beautiful little girl is Winnie. Winnie is now 4 years of age. She was at a bus station. She was a small cub and she was on a chain that was less than 1 metre long and chained to a diesel generator. Her life here is infinitely better. She's got a really sweet face. So Winnie is a moon bear, which is completely different to Mary. Mary's a sun bear.
Also known as Asiatic black bears, moon bears can grow to over 3 times the size of sun bears.
So the threats that bears face in the wild, whether it's moon bears or sun bears, you know, are really similar. Cubs are taken out of the wild. You know, people want them as a trophy pet, or even to the point where, you know, live bears will end up in restaurant situations because, you know, someone wants a delicacy of bear paw soup or whatever body parts that they use.
Across Asia, sun and moon bears are in trouble. Experts believe that up to 70% of their range has been lost, and in some areas, they are already extinct. One of the reasons for this decline is the bear bile farm industry. In farms, bears are held in cages, and their bile, a digestive fluid that helps break down fat, is extracted from their gallbladder, processed and used in traditional Asian medicines.
There's an estimated 10,000 bears across the region in these bear farms, effectively in coffin-like cages where they're going to spend their entire lives. And because there's a demand, people will exploit that. And ultimately, they don't care about the welfare of the animal, it's about profit.
Joining forces with Free the Bears, the Lao government has pledged to end the farming and trading of bears. In order to rehabilitate as many animals as possible, the sanctuary will need to expand.
It's about working with the authorities to make sure that we try and help stop the wildlife trade. And law enforcement can only happen if we have facilities like this. So the quicker we can build these facilities, the more animals we can help rescue.
The moon bears already living here are given the best life possible. And if Mary can build up her strength, she will become the first sun bear to move up to the sanctuary.
Good morning. So she really likes it in here at the moment because it's quiet, which gives her a sense of security, a real safe place. She's starting to wake up. Lots of big yawns.
Sun bear cubs need up to 12 hours sleep a day for healthy growth and brain development. Giles is monitoring Mary closely.
So I'm starting to get some confidence over the amount of food that she's eating, because yesterday we hit 6 feeds. You can tell just by looking at her, she's really starting to now improve, put on weight, put on condition. We can really introduce some solid food as well, and that's going to be important because she's starting to grow so rapidly that you just won't be able to keep up with the amount of milk. And I think we're starting to see a real change. So this morning, we're going to see if she wants to have her very first bath.
New experiences like this help determine if Mary is on track with her recovery.
I'm not really sure what to expect, but in general, cubs are often quite nervous first time they come across water, so we'll see how she goes.
If Mary is lacking in confidence, then it could mean a delay in her rehabilitation.
In the wild, Mum would be keeping her clean by licking her all the time. You can see she's absolutely filthy, so I'm hoping in a second I can use this bath and get some of the mud off. Where's he go? Oh, this is good, isn't it? Oh, my goodness.
Seriously? Absolutely no telling.
She's loving it. Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it, to see?
I've honestly never seen a cub this young enjoying the water to this kind of extent. If we walked away, she'd sit here for the next 40 minutes just playing on her own. It's just hilarious.
All of these opportunities are now really starting to build her confidence. You can see her starting to come out of her shell. She's absolutely loving it. So in the wild, she'd be following Mum at this age, and they'd definitely come across bodies of water. Now, some bears are not big swimmers like some of the other bears, but they certainly will splash around in the shallow parts, which helps to keep them cool.
Sun bears have the shortest and densest fur of all the bear family. This prevents overheating and also protects them against the heavy rain in the tropics.
If you think about all that she's gone through in her very short life already, this is great to start to see her really enjoying life now.
The town of Luang Prabang sits in a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The surrounding wild spaces form a network across Laos, one of the most forested countries on Earth. Despite best efforts from law enforcement, this fragile ecosystem is losing wildlife at an alarming rate.
What are you doing, Freaky Deaky?
This morning, Matt is monitoring Mary as Giles is heading to a nearby market to see for himself why animals are disappearing from the forest.
So it's not even 7 o'clock in the morning. You can see how busy the market is already. Local people here are coming and buying their food for dinner, food for the rest of the week. Some of it's making me really hungry and some of it, not so much. I think they're like wasp larvae. The rats. That's definitely not my cup of tea. Sabadi.
The sparrows are more delicious than the rat, but the snakes like a chicken.
More like chicken.
Yeah.
So these people just find them in the forest, yeah? They're just wild.
Hunting has long been tradition here, but new legislation is in place to protect wildlife. And it's now illegal to sell endangered animals.
Look at these little chaps. Sabadi. So there's 3 tortoises here.
This protected species is being sold for food.
For all of them. For 1, 2, 3 of them, right? So it's just over £40 for all 3 of them. All of that wildlife was so much more expensive than the alternatives. 5 metres down the alleyway, there was someone selling chicken at a third of the price. This is just one market in one town, in one country. You start to times that across the entire region, and you can see why wildlife is disappearing.
There is also a demand for manufactured products derived from animals, including bears.
So we're right on the main street here in Luang Prabang, and this area is quite popular with all sorts of tourists. And there's a convenience shop just back there that we've had information from one of the staff that work for us that they're selling wildlife products in there.
Wearing a hidden camera, Giles explores the high street.
In amongst the shelves of chocolate and soft drinks, at the back of the shop, there's tiger bone wine. And there's also bear bile powder. The fact that it's illegal to sell these products here, the first thing that struck me about both the products is just how professionally processed and packaged they are.
In traditional Asian medicines, bear bile powder and fluid have been used for centuries as a remedy to help with digestive complaints.
We call it traditional Far Eastern, Asian, Chinese medicines. These farms have produced products that have nothing to do with tradition. So you can get bear bile toothpaste, you can get bear bile shampoo. That shows you how flawed this industry is.
These bear bile products are widely sold to treat a variety of ailments, from sore throats to diseases like cancer. Despite modern science discrediting its cure-all claims, belief in its effectiveness continues.
I look at that and I immediately just thought, that's what Mary was destined for. We know that she was going to be transported to a bear farm and her life would have been hell. That shop is less than a kilometre from my doorstep. It makes me feel sick and it makes me feel angry. There's a lot of people in this trade that know exactly what it's about and exactly what it's doing, and they don't care as long as they're profiting. And we need to stop it.
Working with the authorities to rescue bears from the illegal trade is the reason why Giles and the team are expanding the sanctuary. And with construction progressing, Matt is at home overseeing Mary's development.
Good morning. Oh, it's a mess. Pretty gross.
Mary is now 6 months old and weighs 12 kilos.
Hello.
She's growing in confidence.
Mary's eating solids now, and she's growing rapidly.
At this age in the wild, Mary would be following her mum on daily excursions in the forest.
I only have a small patch of garden here, and already Mary is really drawn to that. She loves digging around, you know, scratching on the banana trees, but it's a matter of a few square meters. In the wild, she'd have access to hundreds of hectares and expressing all of these behaviors that are just so hardwired in some bears.
The challenge is to help Mary learn the vital skills she'll need to move out of home and live a more natural life at the sanctuary. Matt is looking for signs that signify she is ready.
She's changing every day. You see her front paws point inwards, and that's an evolutionary thing for climbing up large tree trunks. The little ears compared to a moon bear. Moon bear's ears are big and poking up. For these guys, if you move in amongst dense jungle, you want them closer to your head so they're less likely to get caught on something. So yeah, lots of evolutionary tricks they've pulled to master their environment.
Mary's new diet of fruit and vegetables means she's getting stronger by the day.
She is on fire today.
As she grows more confident, she's turning into an unruly toddler.
Little monster child. Most of the time, the look you get from her is one of, you stop me from doing what I want to. Pretty hard to control. Too much, too much.
Mary no longer needs as much rest in the daytime and is becoming more independent.
Don't shove me in the face. Mary's still a lovely girl, but at this point in her life, it just becomes so clear that this kind of environment is not suitable for her. It's just making it more and more clear that it's time for her to move up to the sanctuary. Don't pretend to be cute.
Kids, baby animals, wherever you don't want them to go is where exactly they want to go.
Colour off at the pass. Just trashing a nice bit of furniture. Little moments like this remind me that we don't have another day or two left in us before this house is wrecked.
Mary's new abilities indicate that she's ready to leave home.
Oh my grief! Like, I'm not gonna miss that. Time to move out.
At the sanctuary, construction is underway for Mary's own bespoke enclosure. In the meantime, Matt and Giles are helping settle her in to a temporary nursery on site.
Welcome to your new home. She looks smaller here, actually. She was looking big in my house, and now she looks little.
This space is Mary's first step towards adjusting to life here.
It's about keeping her stimulated physically, mentally, but she's actually just having a really good time being a bear. She's come on such a long way, you know, she's immensely powerful. You just feel the strength in her. Look at those teeth. Some good gnashes. It's fascinating. Her incisors now are almost the same size as an adult tiger's at the front here. She would use them for defence. She would use them for pulling into rotten logs, you know, breaking into termite mounds. Like, think how hard a termite mound is. Like, termite mounds can be as solid as concrete. She pushes the boundaries all the time. But you want her to, you know, I want her to, you know, have that confidence and be a well-adjusted individual, which is exactly what she's turning out to be.
In order to help more bears like Mary,
Right, you little monster.
Giles needs to push on with the plans to expand this pioneering facility.
Looks more like it's going to be a dairy at the moment. A few wandering cows.
3 months into his role, another construction phase is beginning.
Don't mess about, do they? There's so much space.
This is one of 10 new bear houses, which will offer victims of the bear trade a better life.
The scale of what we're trying to achieve here is huge. This could be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, bear sanctuary in Asia. That's a big undertaking and a huge ambition, but there's every possibility that we could have 130 bears around us.
Today,
Wow. It's a massive site, isn't it?
Giles's wife Catherine has flown in from the UK to see how the sanctuary is developing.
We've already started construction on what is effectively going to be like a nursery, but then up on the upper story, that's going to be like an apartment, like accommodation for staff. When I come and help him out in the future and I stay, that's where I can base myself. Upstairs.
Be nice.
You've got to use your imagination here.
Catherine has experienced firsthand the challenges of sharing her home with wild animals.
She bit me.
In 2016, Giles took in Maya, a neglected baby jaguar.
Yeah, I mean, we could go from sharing a house with one jaguar to sharing a flat with 6 cubs. It'd be exciting.
Don't know if it's going to have an ensuite, but they're passable, maybe.
Are you serious?
We can...
Yeah. No, I'm not staying here then.
we can do a little something with it.
Jazz it up.
Jazz it up, yeah. Put a mirror on the wall for you.
I think I put up with quite a lot with Giles, actually, but this might be a step too far.
The human accommodation might not be up to scratch yet,
Hi.
How you going?
Yeah, good. How are you?
but Mary loves her new home.
Did you want to come and meet our youngest
I'd love
resident?
to, yeah.
She's strong, OK? So she's very gentle, though. She's
Hello.
very powerful.
Hello. Look at those claws. Oh, God.
Look at that belly.
Straight away, Mary is winning over Catherine.
I've completely fallen in love with her in about 10 seconds. She is cuter than a jaguar.
She's equally. One's
I
not
don't know.
cuter.
She is a bit
Not
cuter, I think.
cuter.
Yeah, I think she is.
No.
I think she is.
Look at your teeth. They're so healthy.
So she got all her teeth come through.
The baby teeth. They'll fall out in the next couple of months.
You can feel how powerful she is, right? But she's actually
Yeah,
really,
she is. She's so solid.
really quite reserved and gentle.
Oh, she's beautiful. You are beautiful. That was such an incredible experience. She's gorgeous. She's just lovely. And, you know, to see the pictures when she was first rescued, to see the state of the condition that she was in, and to see her now, it's just really special. She's amazing.
Having made a connection with Mary, Catherine wants to understand the scale of the problem for bears.
you.
Arriving at the team's head office in town, Catherine is here to learn what life is like for a bear trapped in a farm. In this freezer is disturbing evidence. Confiscated body parts of bears that are being used for scientific research.
This is the result of 1 day of raids on 4 wildlife trading markets around 1 town in Laos. This is gallbladder, which is the main thing that bears are killed for.
Why?
For use in traditional medicine.
So what do they actually do then?
This will be ground up and put into a little tonic or just eaten raw.
I mean, even the generation that's coming through now, they still believe in this.
China's 1.4 billion people, Asia's 3 billion people. It only takes the most tiny percentage of those people to believe. That's enough to send bears extinct.
It's thought that these gallbladders were harvested from 50 dead bears. But many suffer a fate worse than this.
Bile farms are taking bears directly out of the wild. They'll take them as cubs, raise them in small cages, and then they're sedated and have their abdomen punctured repeatedly until they find the gallbladder and they can draw out the bile. That's why people have started putting bears in bear bile farms, to try and get to the bile on a repeat basis.
They do that while they're alive?
While they're alive, for their whole lives.
So that they're basically, if they're in a bile farm, that they're living a life of torture.
Oh, it is horrific. So the average life of a bear normally would be 30 to 40 years, and in a bile farm, you're looking at about 8 years they live.
That is shocking.
Yeah.
That is absolutely shocking.
You know, you're talking about a cage at best the size of this table.
That is absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I didn't really realise that at all.
Yeah.
God, I can't believe that. Sorry. Yeah.
No worries.
It's really
Yeah.
upsetting.
Yeah, I think I kind of forget that so many people aren't even aware of what goes on.
I really don't think a lot of people are.
Yeah, no, I know. It's horrific.
When you look at Mary and how happy she is now, and it's just unbearable to think about her life ending up like that. And, you know, I think now when I think about Giles being out here, I can see why he wants to help too.
Liberating bears from a life behind bars is an important part of the mission here. It's 4 in the morning. The rescue team have received an emergency call from the authorities regarding 2 bears that are being held illegally.
So we're on our way now to Pak Lai, which is the district where we're going to actually go and pick up and rescue these bears.
Traveling 300 kilometers south from Luang Prabang to Pak Lai, the drive will take over 10 hours.
Sorry, was there any more to that message? I understood that you were going ahead.
News of the sanctuary has spread across the country, and today's handover has been organized by government officials enforcing the new law.
We know that there were 3 bears, and one of them has already died. Right now, until we've actually physically got them, that's when I can breathe my first sigh of relief, and the next one will be when they're safely back at the sanctuary.
The situation is worse than Giles feared.
Hi, buddy.
You don't need to be an animal expert to work out that, you know, they're not in great conditions, are they? And if you look at all the other bears at the sanctuary, that size, they've got much more weight on them.
That's the most stressy bear I've seen in years.
After a poacher killed their mother in the wild, these moon bear brothers have been confined to this small cage for nearly 3 years.
It is a bit distressing, actually, to see them. I think I was kind of expecting them to be quite small and, it sounds silly, but maybe a bit more docile. The bears seem really, really stressed.
The plan is to try and encourage the bears, known as Tong and Nung, into transport cages.
It's not ideal, but I just don't like that door. Quite a massive risk.
It's even trickier because there's two of them.
Exactly, you've not just got to get the door open.
And you've got to get it closed. And
Exactly.
There's a like a really solid hardwood door.
Right.
That you could slide in.
Obviously very nervous. Not fancying our chances of getting them to walk voluntarily into the transport cages, but we'll give it a go. And the good thing is we've got a vet here if we need help. So we'll just see how we go.
If they escape, these nervous bears could injure one of the team.
Kath, do you want to load a dart, just in case?
I'm a bit nervous about that transport cage and the way it's precariously balanced and the setup, shall I say.
First to be tempted is the smaller bear, Tong.
Given the circumstances, ideally what we want to try and do is get both of them in that big box. But chances are that's probably not going to happen. So we're going to have to try and capture one and then move that one away. Okay. So, get that door. Everyone needs to be really careful.
Claws through. Yeah, you can get his claws quite a way through. Can we get some bars?
So we've got one bear crated. Now just trying to work on the other one. But obviously he has seen what's going on and is now incredibly tense and stressed, basically.
Nung is a stronger, more hostile bear.
Stop. Let him do that. I don't even want that door shut.
Okay.
Come on, Bubba. All right. Go up. Up. Yeah. Sure. All right.
We've got the second one in the crate now. He's much more stressed than the first one. And the crate that he's in is not as suitable as the first crate, so we've got to be really careful. He can get his paws out of this one. And he's a bit aggressive as well.
This rescue is a major milestone for the sanctuary.
Relieved that they were in safely. Can't believe how big they were. I wasn't expecting them to be that big at all. And actually the dangers as well in transporting them.
This is absolutely necessity. You know, they're on the road now, not only to the sanctuary, but to a much better life as well.
Tong and Nung are being quarantined at this off-site medical center.
Well done.
The next step for these bears will be a full health check. At the sanctuary, while work continues around Mary, Giles wants to ensure that she stays on course with her rehabilitation.
Good morning. She's fully raring to go, isn't she?
At 8 months old,
Full of beans. Someone's been asleep all night.
Mary is hitting a growth spurt. Weighing 5 times more than when she arrived,
What's this?
Giles is offering Mary her first piece of unhusked coconut to test her strength.
Oh. Slightly disconcerting. Shows you actually how gentle she is with, you know,
with me when she's playing.
In the forest, wild fruit can make up over half of a sun bear's diet.
If I want to get into the coconut, I've either got to use a hammer or a machete, or both. And yet, she's got the perfect toolkit. Look at those claws, they're like almost like sickles. Of all of the species of bears, you know, including the polar bear, the sun bear has the sharpest claws. Not the biggest claws, but certainly the sharpest and the most curved. She's really learned how to use them over the last few weeks. You can see she's making very short work of it. It just gives you a bit of an insight into how powerful she is. Look at it, it's just completely shredded in a matter of minutes.
Mary's next challenge will be using this strength and learning how to climb so she can live like the other bears here. In order for Tong and Nung to move into the sanctuary, Giles needs to rule out if they're carrying any diseases or if they've been used in the bear bile trade.
So today's huge for them because we're actually going to do their health checks. So we've got the vet team coming in.
Bears that have had bile extracted often suffer medical complications with their internal organs.
I need to dart him here.
To do a thorough examination, wildlife vet Kath needs to sedate the bears.
Over the years, I've been involved in hundreds of anaesthetics. 99.9% of the time, they go without problems. There's always the odd case where, you know, something happens, they stop breathing. Ultimately, his life will be in our hands.
First to be assessed is smaller brother Tong.
Beautiful, well done. All right.
Tong is fully out on the anaesthetic, which is giving the vets the opportunity to do a full medical workover, so taking measurements, taking bloods, he's been microchipped.
Using an ultrasound machine, the team are looking for signs of abnormalities in the gallbladder.
Lights off, Kath?
Yes, please. Thank you.
It's tricky to find it, even though it's 7 centimeters long.
It's physically quite difficult. I have to push really hard and up because it's up under the rib cage and quite deep.
Kath is assessing the size and shape of the gallbladder to see if there's any trauma caused by bile extraction.
Every time we get a bear on the table, we always check the gallbladder just to see if there are any changes that we might expect to see. But this little bear, his gallbladder looks nice.
Nung is next to be sedated. But during his ultrasound, a faint abnormality is spotted on his liver.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of... Yeah, that's interesting.
If he had bear bile extracted from him, then there is potential damage that could do. You know, so it's about checking to make sure that there's no problems, there's no scarring or tumours.
Bile is an acid produced by the liver, so animals that have had bile removed often have liver problems too, including inflammation and cancer.
If they have had bile extracted a couple of times, we just want to be sure that we can know what's going on in the liver so we can monitor it.
Further examination reveals both liver and gallbladder are functioning well.
This guy has a great looking gallbladder. Everything looks fine.
Good news
That
for
is
them.
really cool. It's really nice.
Done.
Blood test results confirm both brothers are free from disease.
There we go. Perfect.
As we saw them when we picked them up, they are small and they've been malnourished for a long time. But at least we've now got evidence that their gallbladders are healthy, there's no scarring or tumours that would have been caused by removing bear bile for the wildlife trade. And now, the payoff is going to be they're going to start to be really happy, healthy bears.
With a final construction push at the sanctuary, Tong and Nung's new spacious enclosure is nearly completed. And they'll be moving in the next few days. Here, Mary is getting to grips with some bear basics. Today, Giles wants Mary to develop the climbing skills she'll need as she grows up.
Mary absolutely loves getting into banana trees, so I thought I'd chop down a whole tree and let her have the whole end and see what she gets up to.
But bringing the forest inside has its drawbacks.
Ants. Oh, I can feel them already. All the bugs and insects and the ants that are going to be in the stalks and in between the leaves, you know, coming across those tasty little snacks. Ow! God, they hurt almost as much as she does. Ah! Oh, it's stuck in me. Mary better love this. I got bitten about 1,000 times. Ah! This would be slightly easier if you didn't want to get all over it before I'd even got it in the ground. There's a bear in there. Well, it's perfect demonstration. Just bringing it in here, she's all over it straight away. You know, it's so exciting for her. It's so stimulating. This is exactly what it's about.
Sun bears are arboreal, well adapted for treetop life. They latch on with their long curved claws, and their padded hairless feet provide a strong grip.
Don't know what to go for first. Ants, bananas.
But it takes practice to become an expert.
Do you need a hand? Get back on the trunk. There we go. It doesn't matter how much effort or the sweating and ant bites. She's, you know, having so much fun. That's the payoff.
If Mary can refine these new skills, the next step for her will be climbing larger trees outside of the nursery.
Hey, boys. Hey, aren't you looking better?
With a clean bill of health, Moon Bear brothers Tong and Nung are ready to move out of the quarantine.
This is possibly the biggest step on their journey to recovery. Watch yourselves.
They are joining Mary and the other rescued bears at the sanctuary. Their new home is a 3,000 square meter enclosure, and the whole team are waiting to give them a warm welcome.
This house has basically been built in just under 4 months, which is incredible. The guys have worked so hard. They've been working 7 days a week for the last 2 months.
For the first time since they were taken from their mother, Tong and Nung are finally getting to go outside. Giles makes a cluck,
What's that?
a low sound bears produce to reassure each other. Nung, the more confident bear, is the first to step outdoors.
Look, your brother's already got his head out the door.
His nervous brother Tong is not far behind.
That's incredible, isn't it? This space here is the biggest that they've ever known. And it's not just about the size of the space, it's the way in which we are going to help encourage them to utilise it. You know, they're going to have the opportunity to be natural bears. Think of all of the potential firsts in just the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Stick together as well at the moment, don't they?
Yeah.
Look, he's already digging.
Ah, it's fantastic, you know. This is what it's all about, seeing these animals that we know have suffered so much for prolonged periods of time, actually stepping outside and starting on that journey to becoming a properly balanced little bear again.
Tong and Nung will go on to socialize with other bears in this huge enclosure. Giles's wife, Catherine, is visiting to see how they're getting on.
Here, boys. But look how different. They look so healthy, don't they? Oh, good boy. Come on. Hello. Their coats look so healthy.
They look like different animals, don't they?
Yeah.
I just can't believe in that short period of time, really, the difference in these bears is amazing. Oh, they're gorgeous. It really is incredible. It really highlights, when you see them in this environment, how wrong it is, how they were being kept, and how wrong it is for bears to be kept like that.
At the other side of the sanctuary, Mary is also ready to take a step towards living a more natural life.
No! Facial skin is very sensitive. Digging at it like it's a log. What we're going to do this morning is actually take her outside of this enclosure for her very first walk, which I'm super excited about. And if you are, yeah. Come on, Bubs.
This is a big test for Mary. As in the wild, sun bears spend most of their time off the ground.
Come on in, Bubba.
What's this? It seemed no time at all. First thing that she's taken for is climbing the trees. You know, and although she's had the opportunity to climb a little bit, this is the first time that she's had real big trees, and already she's taken straight to the top. So she's been climbing all her life. The fact that she's getting the opportunity to really develop those skills and do what bears do is amazing to watch, if not a little scary at the moment.
It'd be quite an adventure.
Mary decides to climb the highest tree.
She might be a little bit stuck now on how to get back past this bit backwards. She's been up there for a while. You coming down?
Come on, Bubs. I was never famous for my catching skills in cricket.
Don't look at us like that. A lot of the times with baby animals, Mum doesn't necessarily teach them what to do. Mum just exposes them and gives them the opportunity for them to learn themselves. And this is exactly what she's doing now. You know, she's having to figure out how she's going to get past that fork in the branch so she can come down.
Using the skills she's learnt with Giles, Mary finds a way out.
Fireman pole slides down the tree, just using her weight and bum to break or push through any branches.
Clear the way.
They're so heavy and yet so perfectly built, aren't they, between those claws and those short limbs.
With her first day of forest school complete, Mary calls it a day.
She decided it was time to come home. She's perfect. She's been out for nearly a couple of hours. I think it's time to chill out. That was hard work, wasn't it? All that fun. It couldn't have been any better for her. Talk about her success. She's had such a good time. She was really well behaved. She's explored. The challenge is we've still got to build her proper permanent enclosure. Until that point, I want to make sure that I'm getting her out as often as I can.
This is a major leap forward for Mary's development. But for the sanctuary, this is only the beginning.
Hello. You all right?
Forestry officials in a northern province have rescued 2 3.5-kilogram bear cubs.
I'm heading back down right now.
Clamping down on the trade,
Let's go.
the government have seized 2 5-month-old moon bears being sold online.
So we've got a 10, even possibly 12-hour drive, so we've got to leave literally right now.
The cubs are a 500-kilometre and a 9-hour drive away. This emergency requires a rapid response from Giles and the team.
So, buddy, how are you? Is Matt inside?
I think so, yeah.
We nearly ready? We off? Do we have milk powder with us?
Yeah.
And bottles? They're two moon bears, amazingly small. The pressure's really on to get to them as soon as we can. If they don't get the level and type of care that they need, they will die.
Giles is heading to Hoi Sai, a border town to Thailand that is known to be a wildlife trading hotspot. When they arrive at the government forestry headquarters, they find the cubs in a chicken crate just 40 centimeters wide. They were likely destined for a bear bile farm.
I literally did not expect them just to be on the floor just outside the office when we came around the corner. From what I can see, they look very, very similar in size.
It's thought these animals were wild caught just days ago.
They're so small, and one of them is petrified, poor little thing. Just have to see how it goes for them.
It's horrendous, isn't it, to see two such vulnerable but incredible animals that ultimately should be with their mother.
The cubs were being sold for $2,000 US.
The trader was only showing photos of the cubs. He was asking for money to be deposited in a bank account before he'd even allow anyone to see them. And so I believe that there was a bit of a sting operation. They've seized the cubs and I believe have arrested the trader. But really, the sooner we can just get them into a nice, sort of safe, secure environment where they're more happy, the better.
Moving them to a quieter location. The first challenge is to get some much-needed milk into the cubs.
Right. Okay. All right, kids. Good babbas. Oh.
At the moment, the priority is just to get them back home. So if we can get some fluid into them, some food, and then once we're back, we can then start work on really getting them on a proper diet.
Good, this is nice to see.
Next time, Giles takes the cubs home.
Literally a few hours could make the difference between having healthy cubs and having very sick cubs if they start to go downhill.
And does all he can to give them a future.
Even when I'm offering him food, his default position is to be aggressive.
And at the sanctuary,
Oh, man.
the team struggle to come to terms with shocking news of a theft.
It feels strange being in here.
Something like this just rocks you to your core because it changes everything.
A celebration of another astonishing animal species, primates, is streaming now on iPlayer. And Greta Thunberg talks us through a landmark year for her and the planet. Listen to Summer with Greta now on BBC Sounds. Next here on 2, the revolution continues in Mrs. America.